It's time for the Other Three Amigos podcast. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram.
On this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast, just where does Cork City Football Club go from here? We discuss the club's terrible transfer window, including the Embolics leaving. We talk about Cathal O'Sullivan's injury. We discuss if we are now relegated after the Sligo game. We don't go to Mbeng's bag, but we do look ahead to the Galway game and what potentially might be in store on and off the pitch. All of this and more on this week's episode of the Other Three Amigos podcast. Welcome to Season 5, Episode 33, Episode 295 of your multi-award winning podcast. Throw us a 5-star rating on whatever podcast platform you're listening in on. Dan Casey here, and I'm joined by my other three amigos. They are Wayne Mullins, Declan Carey, and Declan McCormack. Why not join us on Patreon, patreon.com/TOTAP. We're doing our best with the time we have to give you a bit of value over there, and it's €5 a month to join. And the 955 live after the Sligo game was recorded by Wayne and TP1. Fair play to you lads. That is up on the aforementioned Patreon as we speak. Wayne, what's the general mood of the Cork City fan base from going off the 955?
I would say we're in a good place. We're all happy and we're all looking forward to next season. That's my take on it anyway. I've been waiting to say this since Declan came on TP1. His background is sensational. What is it?
It's not even AI, one of those fancy Zoom backgrounds. When this is actual wallpaper that was supplied by my father-in-law. It's like birds.
Is it actually? I thought that was a fancy background. Is that actually wallpaper?
I thought that was like Bikini Bottom or a rock climbing wall.
I've been expelled to the kitchen for tonight's episode of TOTAP. At TOTAP Towers, obviously.
What's happening in the bedroom, Declan?
Jeez, look, sometimes there's very rarely I'm not the boss of this house, Wayne. So look, it happens the best of us at the best of times. So, it is what it is.
Declan Carey, what did you make of proceedings on Friday on the 955 live? We'll get into the actual game later on.
First off, Dan, I think just from my take on it, the fans seemed as united as we've been all season, except for maybe before the season started. To some extent, before the season started, I think there was a lot of disagreement on the makeup of the squad and would it be good enough. But I think everyone was largely thinking along the same lines. But I think, people were disappointed, freaked out of their heads. No one was shouting and roaring. I think everyone that came on and spoke largely had the same kind of mental model on where things are and where things need to go. And, very interesting to hear former chairman Jonathan O'Brien as well on. Thought he spoke very well. A few of the other usuals like Kevin and Stephen Buckley and Ethan and a few others. And of course, CCFC man himself. So look, I think everyone spoke very well. And look, as we said before, we won't try and do these every single week, but it just feels like, the time was right to do one last Friday, and it was, it went on for 2.5 hours as well. So apologies to anyone listening back.
I think what Declan is trying to say is that time is up now. It's time for change. In a nutshell, that's what he's trying to say.
It hasn't gotten the comedy watch yet, is it?
You're starting strong there, Wayne.
Well, you know what? It is what it is, and I think the time for faffing about now is over, and I think it's time now to be realistic. Not sticking a knife in, but being realistic in life and realising that, the ship's hit the iceberg now and the lads are the violins out and they're trying to move the deck chairs, but it ain't working. They're sliding off the ship,
All right, we'll get into it a little bit later. We'll go into Academy Watch and we'll get that one sorted.
Deck is off today, is he?
We'll get to it. To be honest, I actually forgot he existed. I can't see his face on like I normally do here. Under 20s had no game. Under 17s beat Bows 2-1 in their League of Ireland Cup game. Under 15s had no game. What's going on there?
It's like you said you can't see my face. It's like, what the fuck can you see? I have the 4V on the screen in front of me. So what do you have if you don't have me?
There's a little thumbnail of you. It's not actually your live video.
I don't know.
I see you, Decky.
Thanks, God. I see you too.
Well,
Shine off your head, just so you know.
Hey.
I'm sure we'll hear
Thanks.
plenty from Decky as we go on, right? Under 15s had no game, and the Blaz beat us in penalties after a 0-0 game in their Eddie Wallace Cup game. We might as well include Cathal O'Sullivan, I think, in this one. He's out injured with an ACL, as we've heard this evening. Decky, your thoughts on this one?
So what can you say, Dan? I mean, it's heartbreaking for Cathal. It's heartbreaking for his family. It's a long road. This is his second one. It's you can't put it into words like how bad you would feel for the young fella. What can you say? Genuinely, I don't know. We were lucky enough in Last Dams a couple of weeks back to speak to Leah Doyle. She was on her way back from her second one, only 19. Incredibly strong-willed and minded. And she was talking about, sometimes it's easier second time round because you know what's coming, but sometimes it's way harder second time round for the exact same reason that you know what's coming, you know what the next step is like. And Kyle is going to have to find his way through that journey. And as I said, your heart will break for him, like absolutely break for him.
Wayne.
Yeah, I hope we support him the way we should, because he backed us by signing that. Probably one of the first youth players to sign professional terms and take a chance on us. So I think we need to take a chance on him. And the thing is, right, his ceiling was high. It was Crystal Palace. It was all these clubs that were in the Premier Division. Like, he can still come back from this, be stronger mentally and physically, and still play at the highest level. And if not, slightly lower. The ceiling's so high. There's so many clubs he can go to in the future. But we need to support him, give him a good contract, a couple of years, get him back to fitness, and you know what? See what happens after.
All right. We'll move it on now to a bit of Commie Watch.
Commie Watch with Ivan Draco on the Other Three Amigos podcast.
Just a quick one on our women's team. They're out against Shells at home this Saturday at 5. Decky, I did see Fianna Bradley has the part of the club. How big of a loss is she going to be on that side?
Yeah, look, I mean, Fianna hasn't been here that long. She was here, she went to Treaty, went from Treaty to Waterford back to us. Now she's left us again to go back to Waterford. So yeah, look, it's a loss, definitely. Niamh Cotter, in my opinion, is a much bigger loss that hasn't been announced yet, but Niamh has joined Galway. That's a massive loss for us. Niamh is a centre half who would put her head where you shouldn't put your foot. She just wants to defend. That's something that any team would miss that. And she's a young girl with a chance to have a bright future ahead of her, and she's chosen to go to Galway, which I think says, some people say it's college related. I don't know. I don't think it is. I think she's going to college in Limerick. So look, best of luck to her anyway. Best of luck to Fianna. Best of luck to anybody else who goes in their merry way, because I swore I wasn't going two-footed, but between the women's side of the thing and the men's side thing, it's becoming pretty obvious that Cork City is not an enjoyable place to play your football. It's not a good place to play your football. It's not a place where players want to come and play their football, because, we were told there was players coming and they didn't come. So look, it is what it is. I would say very best of luck to the girls who have moved on, and I hope they have good careers.
Declan Carey, out of 10, how would you rate our transfer window?
I'd maybe give it a 4, 3 or a 4, and it needed to be a 9 or a 10 then, because we were in a relegation battle, so it had to be Sligo-esque, and and the only reason I'm giving it a somewhat decent rating is because of Feely looks like a good signing, and I'm sure there's a good player in Fiacre Kelleher. And, obviously it's just a tough situation for those two lads to be coming in. New defensive partnership and whatnot. I'm sure if they had a full pre-season behind them and stuff, and they might, definitely be better than our previous two. But look, obviously we're just in a very difficult spot now at the moment. A lot of injuries now as well. the outgoings, I think, have surpassed the incoming signings, which again is disappointing. Like, we did a piece there for our Patreon members and we covered it on the pod about how, number one, how drastically different our starting 11 would be in August after the window closed. And it's going to be that now for all the wrong reasons as well. Looks like we're plagued with injuries. Greg Bolger's going to be out for another while. We've obviously had the situations now where I don't know if Malik will ever play with the club again. I would doubt it at this stage. We had the news yesterday that Mbeng is gone. The Mbeng bag is no more. So, au revoir. And
bollocks.
yeah, and the bollocks. And then we had, Daniel's gone as well. Like, these were players probably that we thought were going to stick around for the rest of the season. I didn't even have them earmarked as leaving during the window, really. Now, I know Daniels, it was said that he was only signed until the window and whatever. There was confusion about whether he was registered for the whole year and stuff like that. Again, it's just constant, strange stuff going on, Dan. Even releasing the statement as well about Malik signing the pre-contract and he's leaving at the end of the year. Like, just it's just, the whole window has just been a complete disaster. I take it back, actually. I give it a 1 out of 10.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were a bit generous. Yeah, you were a bit generous, I thought, with the 4 anyway. Wayne,
I started off, whatever way on the front of my head was just Fiacre, Feely, I think the goalkeeper is a good signing. But then you just think of all the other stuff. And you know what? Yeah, 1 out of 10.
Wayne, what do you make of it? Especially, there's no sign of this marquee League of Ireland signing either.
I give it a 3 or 3.5, to be honest with you guys. I think Odamusu will be a good keeper if given time. Callagher, yes. Feely, yes. The rest, no. And it's the outgoings is the poor thing. And the promises that we're getting these players in, and it's just not good enough.
Decky.
So what difference does it matter what fucking rating you give it, like? Seriously, like? What's the fucking point in rating anything, like?
I think it's just a conversation starter.
Yeah, I know, but we're only wasting our time, like. Rate it. It was fucking shocking. That's how I rate it. Absolutely fucking shocking. Because we were at a point at the start of the window where we were saying we needed to add 5 or 6 players of quality to give us a chance to stay in the division. As Deck said, Rory Feely looks a good player. Fiacre Kelleher, Deck reckons there might be a player in there. Surely it'll come out at some stage if there is, right? That's fucking it. Brody Lee is 16. Odamosu was injured. No, he might be a good keeper. He might not be a good keeper. We don't know. He's only here a wet week and he's injured already. And that's a completely other story and a completely other issue that we're going to have to deal with at some stage. But look, they threw Dykesteel under a bus when there probably wasn't a need to. They never opened their mouth about the other French rat and all his carry-on the last month and longer, right? They go for Dykesteel, the easy target, the easy win, because he had signed with St. Mirren. I presume they do it that way because Mbeng was still a City player. He was still an asset. He was still some whatever, like, Off he goes to Shelbourne. I said on here, I think, I know, was it 3 weeks, a month ago? Never named the player, so there was a player's agent trying to, ringing Shamrock Rovers left, right and centre, begging them to take a player. That was Mbeng. Agent's been at it with 3 months. The lad's injured the last 3 weeks and hasn't trained. Injured in inverted commas. Safe to say nobody believes he was injured. The players don't even seem to, believe he was doing anything other than acting the prick, like. But he's gone. Shelbourne. He's a good player. Like, he's decent at the level. And we were all kind of going, I wonder, Jesus, we did very well there to pick him up. Now he's a free agent. I wonder how he was a free agent. Now we know why he's a free agent, because this is his carry-on, seemingly, So, look, and Shelbourne are delighted with themselves and they've got him bang. I'm telling you, lads, we've said this because Leopards don't change their spots. What he did to us, he will do to Shelbourne at some stage in the future. Without fail, because human traits are human traits. They don't change, So, best of luck to him. But we had to know a month ago that this was going to happen. Where was the replacement? Where was, you know what I mean? Where were the bodies lined up? And there's a piece in the Echo today, Stephen Barry, the piece in the Echo, and Jernash states, we were really close to bringing a couple of players who've been in the league, who've been playing, who've been in season. That would have really helped us. We didn't quite get it across the line, which is really frustrating. Why didn't we get it across the line? I don't know. I don't even know the players he's talking about. But, like, oh, we were so close. We were right there. It's so frustrating. Oh, fuck. Like, we did everything, but we're something. This is a fucking catastrophe, like. This is just, like, people should hang themselves heads in shame. Like, this is just as bad as you can get. Like, we thought the 23 window, we thought the summer window in 23 was bad. It's fucking miraculous compared to the shit we've just seen in the last 4 weeks. You know? We've gone from needing 5 or 6 players to give us a shot at keeping ourselves in the division to losing more quality than what we've brought in, to losing more number-wise than what we've brought in. And we've a manager saying, oh, we were so close, we were this, we were that, we just couldn't get it across the line. Well, lads, you couldn't get it across the line. Why couldn't you? I could have a guess. It's either accommodation or money. I'm going to say one of the two. I'd a guess, and I am guessing, but there seems to be common themes running through our transfer windows and our transfer efforts.
I'd add to that a reason that can just put it down to, in my opinion, just complete and utter naivety on signing players and the club getting really, really, really excited when they even get a response back from an agent about a player. And the agent maybe throws a little bit of, how much would you be maybe looking to pay him? Or what about an option for signing for 2026 or whatever? And the club they're so naive and so inexperienced in this situation. They engage in a little bit of chatter with a player or his agent and they think he's signing. And that to me is apparent with some of the things that were said to the fans at that meeting a couple of weeks ago, that PR stunt, in my opinion. That took place before that game. Was it against Drogheda? Was it?
St. Pat's game.
St. Pat's, sorry, yeah. Drugs was earlier in the week. So it's just, to me, I don't think we're close to signing these guys at all. I don't even think we're getting to the point where we're showing them a room or showing them Bishopstown or whatever, which to me is like, the way he's describing it in the quotes is like, they were at Bishopstown, they saw the training facilities, and on the 11th hour, they changed their mind and signed for someone else. You know, like the stories you'd see on Sky Sports News back in the day of the real deadline day stuff. But like, I bet you these guys never had any interest at all in signing for Cork City. And sadly, it just looks like we don't have anyone with that senior level experience that can read between the lines in these situations. And look, disappointing. Plenty of help out there to offer in those types of areas.
Is anyone surprised at this?
No.
Did anyone think that the fundamental issue here is not having him in July 1st? And we said it.
No. Sorry, Scott.
No, I'm just saying.
Sorry, just 2 seconds. The fundamental issue is not having them in on the 1st of January, not on the 1st of July.
Yeah, you're correct.
You know?
Yeah.
And to make things worse, and I leave you take over then, we called this out on like episode 1 or 2 of the season's pod. We said like,
last season, last July, this time last year, we were calling it out because we had 6 months to plan.
Yeah.
And look at us now.
But we had
this
even
is
4 months to plan.
There is doesn't matter what we say, what anyone says, it's game over in my opinion. We've tried it, it's failed. And there's nothing. We could win the league win every game next season. Every game 5 in the next season in the first division. Doesn't matter shit. Because we're not prepared. We're going to do the same thing a third time over.
Are you talking about
this is going to be a horrendous 2 years.
In terms of the ownership?
Yeah, everything at the club. Everything has to change. Everything. From the way we conduct ourselves, the way we talk to people, the way we act. It's just complete. This is not the way Cork City is known. And we need to have a mentality of us against them to start. That's the first thing we need to do. And I think I've given up on this current way of running the club. It's not working. And it hasn't worked in 3 years. And when the fans lose connection with the owner or the manager or the players, it's game over. There probably is examples where it turns around. But it's not going to turn around. It's just gone too far.
I'd even just to add to that, Wayne, and this is probably going to come as a surprise to some people, but you said, you worded that there as you've come to an end of this way of running the club. I think I've come to an end of like the club's ownership as things stand, and I think it's time for a change.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. I think I'll just clarify at least anyway my feelings on it, and thanks for you clarifying as well.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think
it's been it'll be 3 seasons now. Look, this season is practically over. We're 11 points behind.
next season's a complete waste of time. We'd be lucky to get 1,000 people every game next season. And that's at 10, 15 euro a ticket. The only way this works is a complete change. Even if, right, the attitude changes, the promises come up. I won't believe it. A lot of people won't believe it. It's once you lose the trust, it is game over. It's like a relationship. If you lose trust, you can piss about and try. It's never going to work.
Yeah.
Decky, is the trust of the fan base gone?
Completely. Absolutely. Of course it is. I don't think that's in question. And it's gone. Like, there was 14 people asked to attend the meeting. Deck said there about the St. Pat's game, 14, shall we say, fans with some influence over the different fan groups and whatnot, the corner boys and the Fockers and the lads in the shed, the different groups in the shed and everything else. And they were told certain things at the meeting. There would be 3 players coming in. One with, was it a big name League of Ireland?
Big name League of Ireland. So something like that was paraphrased.
None of it happened. And no, as Scotty said, all the trust is gone because people just go, oh, look, well, you've said this. There's other things. There's lots of examples of things being said initially and not being followed through on. Even the simple stuff, go back to season 1, the whole end of season ball that was going to happen. That was, it was in the Examiner and it was on the radio, but just quietly disappeared. There's so many things said that just quietly disappear. The toilets in Turner's Cross quietly disappears. There's so many examples of it. And it's like, I keep saying, and I kept saying that the best outcome was for Dermot Usher to turn the whole thing around and make a huge success of it. The problem now is nobody believes he can.
Yeah, I agree with you.
Said. And it's actually sad in a lot of ways because I know he wanted to do well. I know his heart was in the right place and all those things, but he's made an absolute bollocks of it. And there's just no getting away from it, like. And so what do you do? And like, like in all our time here in 5 years, we've never called for a manager to go. Well, sorry, I did. I called for Liam Buckley to go. Sorry, my apologies.
That's understandable.
That was easy. Yeah. Like, that was easy at the time. Like, I just think for everybody, for Dermot himself, I think the best thing to do is just step away. I know people are going, who's going to step in and what? Look, that's a bridge we cross when you come to it. But you can't say that this person shouldn't step away because I'm worried about who's going to step in their place. That's not the way to look at things, in my opinion, anyway. And we've kind of reached a time where we've gone through this window again, and it's been worse than 23. And that's a massive, massive red flag. How could it be worse than 23? How could we be in the position we were in and not be prepared for this window? And it started brilliantly. Fiacre Keller and Feely in the gap. We thought, right, brilliant, here we go. Since, it's nothing. And like the manager's in the papers and he's talking about everybody after the game on Friday night, and he's talking about, we want players who are here for the long term. We want Irishness and we want Corkness. We're only developing players for other clubs. He's saying that half an hour after he brought a 19-year-old that he bought on loan from Preston 3 days previously onto the pitch. Well, he left Matt Murray on the bench and he left the other Cork City Academy graduates and players on the bench, and he brought on a lad from Preston, and then he goes on to fucking media 20 minutes or half an hour later talking about we need to change because we've spent all our time developing players for other clubs. What the fuck did you just do when you brought on Kamara? What did you do when you signed him? And that's nothing against Kamara, it's just the example. I'm all for bringing lads in, but we said this from day one. You use loans to supplement the squad. We built a squad around loans, and it was fucking horrendous then, and it's still horrendous now. And then the manager talking this bullshit afterwards. They all need to go. Nash, Moyler, Usher, Cronin, Delaney. It's just time. It's just time. I'm sorry. It's just time. And I this wasn't my intention coming on, but now as we start talking about things, Like, there's no other way out. There's no other way out of it.
And you're spot on there, Dick. Like, you're right. And I agree with you 100%. And I was, look, elephant in the room here. Like, I was extremely close to this takeover when it happened in the professional capacity I was in at the time. And obviously now it's close, we'll say 3 years on now, as I said. And it's just, look, yeah, Dermot's heart was in the right place. He said all the right things as we were coming in, and the takeover was happening, and it just feels like it's, hasn't gone well. And as Wayne said, and as you said, and as I said, like, I think it's time for a change. Like, I just don't think it's tenable any longer. And if I was Dermot, I would start listening to any proposals or interest that comes my way. The only frustrating thing I would say is we see this figure floated around a lot, about 1.4 million, and by the end of the season, writing checks for 700,000-800,000. That money's gone. That's like a terrible investment. That's like, that's not an investment that you deserve back or whatnot. Like, Forrest invested 50-60 grand a year while it was owner in membership fees that we just, obviously that investment wasn't wisely spent as the duration of Forrest played out its tenure, and we ended up handing the club over for €1 because we had debts and this and that. And the situation now is Dermot has obviously spent a lot of money. No one is denying that, but it hasn't been invested wisely. And like any investment, if you invested in a business and the business fails, ultimately when you cash out, you've lost your bobs, and that's just the way it is. And his investment has left us in a worse position than when he took over. So how is his investment now worth anything? He has tried to invest it to turn this overall business into a profitable, sustainable, not like profitable in some areas, which he has done in fairness in terms of the merchandise and some of the commercial areas, I'll say some. And like, his investment hasn't paid off. And I think now is the time. Like, he's going to be signing another check for 500,000 next year in the first division, maybe. The crowds are going to dwindle. There's talks from fans on forums and social media about unrest and protests, like, and probably worse than what was planned ahead of the Pats game, because they weren't even protests. That was just a black smoke bomb and a banner or two, like, and the odd chant, like, bonker stuff. So look, unfortunately, it pains me to say it because I really, really wanted this to work out, probably more than most City fans, to be honest. It's just hasn't. And look, I'll hold my hands up on this. Like, I went into this takeover with the best of intentions. There was no one that didn't. I looked back at the original tweet there just after the vote when, that photograph of Dermot with his thumbs up in the city top, and, we're ushering in a new era, and it's overwhelmingly positive. There's quote tweets, oh my God, big things ahead for City. We're now back in the Premier Division. We've got an investor who's going to throw the money in at it, and he's talking about growing us off the field, and he's got the commercial acumen and the business acumen to push us on, and like, it's all positive, and everyone was behind him. And now I can see it. Like, no one's behind him that I can see.
Well, this 1.4 million euro that almost is a stick to beat the fans over the head with, like, that's been invested so shit, like, it's unbelievable. And there's also this braggadocious nature about it, but it's been invested terribly. When, I mean, fans are there saying online, social media, well, we'll have no one else to take us over, that Dermot Usher, he's steadying the ship here.
Bullshit. That's like a wife from home wanting to leave the husband, but she can't because there's no future for her. It's rubbish, like, or a husband leaving. You can't live life like that. You have to look at the positives. And the League of Ireland is booming at the minute. And Decky has spoken about it at least the last few podcasts and on the forum about the fact that it is booming and there will be someone out there. The problem is that the debts, will they be left there? Will the next person to buy him, or is he going to write him off? This is the way you got to look at it. Huh?
That's my worry, Wayne. Yeah,
it is a huge worry.
I'm only speculating because the way it's being mentioned, and like Dermot has said as well, and this is paraphrased from that meeting with the fans or whatever, that like, and he's kind of alluded to this as well, I think, in other interviews, that if we get relegated, he's sticking around. Look, what other answer is he going to give in that situation? In fairness, but he has added the wrinkle to it that, like, if this quote unquote abuse or whatever, or, you know, the heckling he's getting and the banners and whatever continues, he'll have to consider his position. So he's giving himself the out there. Which, look, any human being would say as well, in fairness, look, if it gets too much for me personally and, you know, in terms of my mental headspace, I'm going to move on. And that's the same in anyone in any job. But, like, I think he would be naive now at this stage to not listen to realistic candidates to take over as the custodian of the club, because, you know, it just hasn't worked out for him, unfortunately. And it's sad, very sad to see. And the best thing he could do now for his legacy is hand the club over the next couple of months, I feel, to someone that, you know, can correct or have the potential experience now that we all know an owner needs to have to come in and bring Cork City back to where it needs to be. And
That you throwing the hand up.
look, I might be just short of the cash to fund this every year, but look, I'm working on it. But like, yeah, I'll stop there. Lads.
Are Force, Kerry, do you think, are they going to have...
No,
any
they don't have
bearing
the
on what will
financial power. I would love to see Forest part of some kind of thing where even just like a 5%, 10% goodwill thing. I don't know, something like that. Some kind of fan involvement or whatever, or advisory position, something. But no, Forest is not the answer to this. Forget
the Forest stuff, Dan, because this will be, whenever the club changes hands, and look, it's inevitable, be it this year, 5 years' time, whenever it changes hands, it will be a deal between two private parties. Forest won't have any role or any involvement in it, in my opinion, anyway. Look, it is what it is. You know, there's just no getting away from that. Deck pushed it 3 years ago, and we understand that there's going to be certain fling back or whatever phraseology you want to use against Deck and against the pot. Oh, well, just the pot are saying he needs to go, and your man Kerry, sure, he was the chairman, he drove it, and the podcast were mad about us, sure, they had him on twice and everything else. Of course.
Yeah.
Because that was then, and this is now. We're 3 years later. Scotty used the analogy of the wife there, like, when your marriage is in shit 3 years later, you sit down and you go, all right, look, it's time to go our separate ways. It's divorce time, you know? You don't sit there and go, oh, well, look, we did this now 3 years ago and we made it a commitment, so we're going to make our lives absolutely fucking miserable and hang around together for the next 20 years. You know? No, things change. Things change over time, like. That was then. This is now. Simple.
And as always, I think it'll be the settlement and the divorce lawyers that will cause long-term delay and pain to this.
The problem is, right, fans change their opinion. People at the club haven't. This is the issue. They're not changing their views. They're not changing their opinions. It's like when people get older and you meet someone you haven't seen in a while and you say, oh, you haven't changed a bit, or you've changed. Or the problem is they haven't changed and you need to move on with the times. And this is it. People, the club haven't changed their views, their opinions, or how to run this football club in 3 fucking years. 3 years to get this right. And we're relegated for a third time in 5 years. That's not acceptable. And no matter what happens next year, I don't give a shit if we win the league every game of the season. It's pointless. Because the same shit's going to happen again in 2 years.
And just in terms of money as well, Dan, next year people should just remember that the PCA thing now with the UEFA money, next year in the first division, we're going to get 47 grand or something in UEFA money, whereas this year we get close to 500,000 being a Premier Division team. So there's a huge hole to be filled in finances next year just from the PCA UEFA money standalone. Now, I just hope and pray that when the PCA vote was taken on this issue, that we voted to maintain the first division clubs' payments or keep it as it was up to this point. Obviously, we would have lost the vote, but so that's another huge financial hole that has to be covered. You know,
and in terms of potential interest, no, that's a vitally important topic because. Look, that's where, again, the 1.4 million, as we'll call it. Look, I don't know if that figure is 100% spot on because I've just read different sources and it's paraphrased from that fans meeting that happened. Like, that, again, now is something that the 1.4 million investment has contributed towards, to relegating us again down, devaluing the club further, requiring further investment now to get us back up to that level because all the Premier Division clubs now are going to push on that little bit more again. And this is the situation we're in. So look,
Decky, do you think us being devalued might actually help us in the long run find find a new ownership group?
Oh, look, I don't know. I mean, like Dan McDonald said it on today's podcast. Obviously, today is Tuesday. We wanted to see what happened last night before we recorded, so we put it back a day. The LOI Central's out today. Dan McDonald says it's straight out. And everybody respects Dan McDonald. Nobody respects me. That's okay. But
I do.
Dan said it straight out. He said there will be a long list of people willing to take on Cork City. A long list of it. And like that's the point I've been making all week. There will be. And like, you know, so that doesn't like you can get it wrong. Of course you can get another Arcag or you can get another Tommy Nobobs. But maybe you get another Brian Lennox. Or maybe you get a better version of Brian Lennox. You know? Yes, maybe you get an American fucking investment firm and you end up like Cove. You have to sell again 6 months later. There's risk in everything. There's just chance in everything. But as we've seen over, like our point is, or my point, not our point, I speak for myself. My point over the last years is it's just been shown that it's just not going to work. And we all desperately wanted it to work. And even up to 3 weeks ago, I was saying the best thing that could happen is Dermot turns it around. But this window has just, like, it's. I don't know how everybody else feels. For me, it's just pure and utter sadness. Like
the end game.
There's no anger. There's frustration. Yeah. There's frustration with how could we allow ourselves to be so incompetent in another window. But at the end of the day, it's just pure and utter sadness because it's back to the first division. It's back to Ferry Carrick Park and fucking Athlone and Cove and fucking Treaty United and everything. And nobody wants it. Nobody desires it. Nobody, you know. And there's just no way back. That's the problem. You don't see any way back under the ownership. So therefore, you say, all right, lads, thanks very much for trying. We do appreciate it. You hate us. I don't hate you, but you hate me. That's fair enough. I'm okay with that. But hate me from Kildare. Don't hate me from Bishopstown because please don't be there next season.
Like,
you know,
it's 2:30 in. We're on our home in a taxi and we've just shot ourselves. That's basically what we've done for the last 3 years.
Jesus Christ!
This
and
is what's happened.
Money to pay the taxi driver.
Yeah, and this is what's happened.
Yeah, like
simple as.
To be fair, and I think, like, look, just to touch on it again, like back then, 3 years ago, I think, like, the majority fan base had just grown wary of Forest and the fan-owned model, and, like, this is what they were tired of. Like, they didn't want to be a yo-yo club that's going up and down, and, like, we were almost certainly going to be relegated under Forest in 2023. That was almost a guarantee because, like, our budget was going to be so low in comparison to what was needed to keep us competitive. But, like, I just think it was more of a case of like what Dermot wasn't rather than what he was. And I think we all had different perception of it. Like, more importantly, he wasn't Tommy Nobobs. You know, he wasn't someone that was in cahoots with like an Eastern European mafia or any of these like multi-club situations that people want to get. He wasn't Arcaga. He wasn't like your man Murphy or whatever his name is. Like, he was a good guy and he clearly had a few bob and he had success in business. And we all hung our hat on him and said, let's go now. And I remember even, and this is what struck me recently as well, and I hope he doesn't mind me calling this out because his poem was put public anyway. But you had Tony Tobin, I'll never forget it, at the vote, like, you know, having such good banter with Dermot, and they arranged like the ice cream machine for the first game and everything like that. And I was so happy about all that. And it was started to show me even from the early days that Dermot got it. And like, you know, he was, it's such a kind of an analogy for what we all hoped he was trying to do. Like, Tony Tobin loves 99s. Dermot got him an ice cream truck for the first home game of the season. Like, that was like, do you know what?
Magical.
If that was us in Forest Board, we would have been like asking Connor, do we have the couple of £100 to get the ice cream truck? And he would have probably said no, because we didn't have it in the budget and blah, blah, blah. And that to me was like, geez, such a great thing. You know, this is actually bearing its fruits now. And it's just gone so downhill since then. And the offers of help have been rebutted and all this stuff. And you have Tony then putting a poem out about how this is such a disaster 3 years later or 2.5 years later. It's just, that to me is just such a sad indictment of And you could talk about all the different jokey Twitter accounts and the memes and all that stuff, but like when Tony writes a poem, he means it, and it's just to go from that to this is just a sad state of affairs, really, isn't it? Kind of sums it up for me.
When it's all well and good and us giving out on the podcast, well and good lads giving out in the forum, how do you think people are going to make their voices heard? It looks like on this one, because I haven't seen the fan base so united in one way thinking for a long time.
You saw what happened up in the Brandywell last week, right? You see what happens in a lot of Dublin clubs. Our fan base is actually quite good. It's quite calm. There's no hysteria. The forum and 955, it was 2.5 hours long, 955, and their listenership barely dropped. It was at a very high level when we actually said, you know what, let's just cut this because we're wrecked. I think that we're being very calm. I think the podcast has been very good to Dermot Usher. I'm sorry, no, I know there's been a bit of piss taken, a bit of crap, but we've never gone to town on him. Even though the narrative is that TOTAP caused trouble. We don't. It could be a lot worse. We could have been a lot worse. The form could be a lot worse. It hasn't gone on for maintenance in weeks. People know what they say and what they can't say. And I think people have just, it's too late. I think it's gone past the point of return. I keep saying at the end game, no one's going to trust anything said anymore. I certainly won't. I don't think any of you will. And I've never seen the forum in the last week just turn. Not nasty. It can get nasty. Let's not pretend it won't, and it can't. It can. It surely can. But it all depends what happens from here on in. But it's game over.
Even the most devout granders are turning doomer fairly rapidly over there.
They are. And look, there's not
look at Tony. Tony is the perfect example.
This is a football club. Like this is not like, it's different to normal everyday life. And this is the thing. People go, oh, how are the players feeling? Sorry, now, if you sign a contract with a club, or you work for a club, or you get a job as a club, you know what you're getting yourself into. It's not like a normal 9 to 5 shit. Like, it's completely different. You've got, I was going to say 5,000. We've got what, 2,000 people. You answer to. It's as simple as that. If you didn't know that, that's your fault. It's not the fans' fault. We're football fans. I think the club are quite lucky that it's Cork City fans, because the shit hasn't hit the fan. It might, but it hasn't.
Yeah, I do agree. Galway this Friday. There's been talks. Look, I'm just going off the forum here, really, about lads maybe not going into the stadium or going to Turner's Cross and staying outside the stadium. Decky, what do you think is the best course of action for the fans to make their voices heard?
I don't think there'll be anything, to be honest with you. I think the reason there won't be anything is because people are just going to stay at home. I think it'll just be abstinence. People will just stay away. It's just, I'm not paying €25 to go up there and watch a team who are 11 points off Sligo. You know, it's just not going to happen. And like, I understand, you know, different groups talking about, you know, protests outside and maybe miss the first 15 minutes and then walk in because visually it's very effective in that. And I understand all that. And if they do it, I hope it works out well and whatnot. But I actually just think people would just go on Friday and not. I'm going home. I go for a pint with the lads. I'm going.
But in a way,
I'm going home to the wife. I'm in a home with the wife on a Friday night in the year, lads. I'm going home to her tonight. You know, whatever it might be. But I just don't think that. But like, and I've said this before. Dermot thinks he's gotten abuse and he thinks he's gotten it tough. I would argue that he hasn't. And I mean, stuff popped up during the week that I had completely forgotten about. But there was the picture floating around. And was it in the Mirror or the Sun? And it was like, you know, Cork City fans threaten club chairman with death or whatever. And there was the picture of what had been spray painted on the wall at Turner's Cross. Tom Collin, dead man walking. You know, and it's like, I'm giggling now and I'm laughing, like, but I mean, that's where this fan base was once upon a time. Dermot's got nothing. He has like the abuse he's got doesn't even register on the Richter scale in terms of abuse that people have gotten from Cork City supporters. And I think society has changed, and I think the chances of any kind of abuse that Dermot gets actually registering on the Richter scale is very, very, very small. You know?
Yeah, I agree with you, Dick. I think largely speaking, most people will stay at home. I think the attendance will be possibly even lower than that Leicester Celtic game, but we'll call it out anyway as like 1,700 or something like that. That's not saying no that it's going to be embellished or whatnot before anyone.
Misinformation, Declan.
Oh God,
Mistruths. Mistruths.
I think I need to go back to being the ORC. The privileged one doesn't suit me too much. I don't know, but I think there'll be a little bit of noise outside the ground deck. I think 7:30 on Friday night. I think there'll be maybe a little group of 20, 30 people, maybe a few chants.
That's how it starts, though.
They'll either head to the pub then after the game kicks off or whatever, or they won't go in, or
I think the worry was from the people who, they were on about staying at home and not protesting, was if it's just staying at home, which people will do, and it's going to happen, but that the club would just put it down to, a fickle Cork City fan base.
The rain or the bad weather.
Exactly. Something was on in Musgrave Park or something like that they'd have an excuse.
The price of tickets is actually a good thing because it'll stop people going.
True, like, is the protest
if it was 15
even
quid
worth
tickets, you
£25?
go along for the rant of the protest, but 25 quid? Fuck that.
That's probably it. It's like it's saving the protest crew because
the best thing they could do is go in and walk out. That's the only thing you could do. Like, what's it going to bring?
25 quid. I wouldn't. Look, I think I'm not advocating for any type of protest or whatever people feel like they want to do, they can do. As Wayne, as you said, it'll probably start with 30 lads with a few chants outside the ground. Some of them will go in, some of them won't. Some of them probably have season tickets, and it might grow from there. Then, as we get mathematically closer to relegation,
I'm sure the opinion line anyway will have the facts and the truths Monday morning.
We haven't actually covered that on the pod. We talked about it a little bit on 955 Live, but
there's so much shit happening. Like, it's.
Oh, look, do we have an update? They emailed us inviting us on to the opinion line. We emailed them back saying, no, there's no debate to be had. Obviously, Paul Byrne was hosting the opinion line last week and this week. They invited us on. We emailed them back. Having spoken about it, we said, no, there's no debate here. There's no point. We've sent you the video. We've broken it down for you in our initial email. Either you accept that we're right and you apologise, or you don't accept, or you, fundamentally you reject our complaint and you tell us why it's been rejected. They never responded to that. I presume at this stage they're not going to respond to it. We did say at the end of that we would look if I think we phrased it something like, the then only communication we would look at having would be through the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland's complaint procedures. So, we'll have a look at lodging a complaint in terms of the balance and what was said, etc. But I mean, that's an open way. People are quite entitled to lodge complaints with the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland if they feel.
How would you do that
piece? You go onto the BAI's website and you can take the instructions from there. They will show you what to do.
It might be helpful just for us to help potential listeners, like if we published on Patreon maybe the date and the time and some of the contents of the said inaccuracies that we articulated on the pod, just to maybe help anyone who's interested.
That's all in an email. It's all been broken down, so it can be copied and pasted.
They're actually not the BCI anymore. They've changed their name. They're not the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland. They are...
The Commission on.
Thanks, Dan. Ireland's media regulators.
Dan's on familiar first name terms with them.
One of us had to know.
CNAM.ie. That's how you can, if you want to just have a look and see how this process works. And I'm sure there's a few submit buttons there somewhere.
All right. Are we happy enough to leave the state of Cork City as we move on to the Sligo game?
The state of Cork City.
Jesus, what a state it's in. As we move on.
That's the name of the pod right there, isn't it?
The state of Cork City.
Look,
enemy state.
City 2, Sligo 3. Score first, score second, and once again, like clockwork, we lose the game. Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Wayne, you've the head down. I'm just going to go for you.
Thanks. I'm going to be positive to start off. I think we played very well to start. I think McLaughlin had the best game for City. Best first half hour of his career at Cork City. I thought he played quite well, to be honest. We went 1-up. And then we kind of sat back a while, brought Sligo onto us, got a lucky second goal on the break, and then we just lost the plot, bottled it. I think the fitness was a joke. I think the heads dropped. And once Elding scored, I said 2-2 last week. I knew they were going to score. I think we'd lose. I think we were that much of bottle jobs, but seemingly we are. And as I said, you can't blame one specific person. You got to blame the whole club, the whole football club, from the top to the bottom, to every player. Like, bring it on, Brody Lee, 16 years old, when we needed Dykesteel's pace. No, he's not the greatest player in the world, but that to me was just... Again, it's end game. I can't develop my... Like, it was just a lot of... It was shite. It was terrible. And I think...
Yeah. Well, this was the first game in a while I was like, they actually tried hard for the whole game. They're just not good enough. Like, they're just...
But why are we flat after 60 minutes? We could see after 60 minutes.
Decky, what were your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I didn't see it live, Dan.
Why not?
Do you know what? I was at Jason Manford in the Everyman, to be honest with you. It was obviously the tickets were a present given ages ago. Next thing the wife says to me on Wednesday, "Oh yeah, Charlie's going to the aunts there. We can go for dinner after work and go to that gig." And I was like, "Oh wow, what gig?" And then like you kind of go, you don't have the heart then to say match and whatnot. Like, so okay, that's grand. Check the phone, we're 2-0 up. It's like, oh, this is great, perfect. Jason Manford's very funny. And walking out, you see it's 3-2, and then you have to go back and sit through it and know what's coming. And it's like, it's fucking amazing, Dan, because Michael McIntyre's in the marquee, Jason Manford's in the Everyman, and neither of them are the biggest comedy show in Cork on that night. Like, that's in Turner's Cross, like, you know? And it's just like, we're 2-0 up. All you have to do...
Fair play.
We're 2-0 up. All you have to do is don't do anything stupid, you know? And, like, we get ourselves ahead. We get to half-time. That's the first marker. Get to half-time. We get to half-time. Grand. Sligo, take control. Come out, take control. And 10 minutes, bang, we do them on the break. Perfect. 2-0 up. Now it's just, let's not do anything stupid. And especially for the next 10 minutes, next 15 minutes, let's not do anything stupid. 3 minutes later, half the team are committed forward. Joss Fitzpatrick breaks down the left, puts in one of the worst crosses you've ever seen in your life, and everything stems from that point then. But Kit Nelson's ahead of the ball. Harvey Nevin has gone from right back to the point where he's in the opposition box. We're 2-0 up. Our management team are in the dugout looking at Harvey Nevin flying fucking up the wing at 2-0 up, while Owen Elding is standing there on his own on that side of the pitch. And none of them go, hang on, Harvey, don't go, sit in. You know, when we go 2-0 up, the instruction should be the back four don't cross the halfway line. And especially if not for the next 15 minutes. We remain tight, we remain solid, we give nothing away. Josh has a terrible cross. 2 passes later, Owen Elding is in down that side because Harry Nevin is in the opposition box. It's criminal. It's criminal stuff. And it's criminal from the bench because it's right in front of them. They see Harvey Nevin go. You fucking shout and you roar and you stop and you like, but the instruction should have been there, and I'm getting so frustrated again. It's just, it's so bad. And Elding's a special player. I said this 2 weeks ago, I think last week maybe. Of all the young fellas in the country, your Mason Medias and everything else, he's the best of them.
Yeah, he's the best.
He's always been the best of them.
Yeah. And there
he is, all on his own with the freedom of Turner's Cross. And not only that, the first ball goes into Jad Hakiki. And nobody will remember this, but way back last fucking January, whenever they signed Jad Hakiki, I went, that's a great signing for them. I thought he's the guy we would have been in for. And he's standing in the middle of Turner's Cross with 30 yards of space. Because our midfield are all gone beyond the ball when we're 2-0 up. Why? Why would you do it? Why aren't you just sitting in? Why aren't you just being hard, tough to beat? That's all you have to do. All you have to do is don't do anything fucking stupid. Just don't fuck it up. And Elding scores. And I'm not watching this live, so I know, like watching it back, I know what's going to happen. But everybody who's watching it live says, we all know what's coming. And then you get to the second goal. Like, how do you even describe this goal? It's a header where in a zonal marking space, but there's nobody on the back post. There's two players beyond the front post marking nobody. There's no danger there. So I don't know what the setup from this corner was. But Patrick McLean is unmarked. He is unmarked. He scored against Derry the week before. Right? He's unmarked. And if it's zonal, then he has so much of a run, he's still unmarked in the zonal. Now, if it's zonal, you look at the back post, which is the most dangerous place on the pitch from a corner, and there's nobody in the zone. There's no Cork City player in the zone at the back post. So if that ball gets all the way over, it's an easy tap-in for a Sligo player who makes that run, but it doesn't have that. Now, McLean has a brilliant header. It's a brilliant header, but he's not marked. And there's nobody on the back post. And they're kind of two fundamentals. No matter what you do with the front post, the keeper can cover that. There's like in my world anyway, there should always be a man on the back post. We don't do that for whatever reason. And it's like coaching thing. First half, Sligo's corners were in swinging. And 90% of them landed on Fiacre Kelleher's head. And what did Sligo do at half time? It changed it to outswinging corners, taking Fiacre Kelleher out of the game and his zone out of the game. And bang, boom. Did we even know they were after switching to outswinging corners? Had we adjusted our zones? Had we adjusted our map? We hadn't. Because we're just terribly fucking coached from the line. And like, it's just, this is all coaching. Harry Nevin going, that goal, us not being solid, us not being ready, that's coaching. The corner set up, that's coaching. And then there's just an air of inevitability about it. And then, how does Brand not save the third one? How does that ball end up in the net? And bang, you're done, you're relegated.
The thing is...
And I'm kind of like... I kind of agree with Dan. I don't see any, but we're out on our feet. We're also dead on the 60-minute mark. Why is that? Well, according to people around the place, the double sessions are still in play. So when you go, well, the players are bollocks after 60 minutes. It's not because they're not fit. There's, by all accounts, it's because they're bollocks from the double sessions and they've nothing left to give on a Friday night. Don't know. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are. That's what I've been told. Who the fuck knows? All we know is there's massive issues out there in terms of coaching and setup and everything else. But this lad's going to take us into the first division. And then he's given all his bollocks to the media afterwards about Irishness and we've only always developed players for other clubs. You brought in a lad from Preston, 19. He's here to develop for another club. Right? And the Irishness and the Corkness, what's all that about? All our successful teams have had Cork lads, Irish lads, and lads from outside the country. That's it. And then he does his Douchsteel thing. 26 hours later, whatever it is, John Fallon has the piece in the Examiner.
It's disgrace how he was treated. Absolute disgrace.
As far as I'm aware, whatever Malik Douchsteel's agent said, Malik never refused to play. In fact, Malik told Jernash that he was available and he wanted to play. Jernash left him out of the squad and told him stay away from the stadium and told Milan and Beng, no problem with that. And Beng, don't come near the stadium, don't fucking get out of the county. But, you know, like, there's a lot going on here, lads. There's a lot going on here from what I can see and from what I can hear. And these players are not going to have Jernash and David Moynihan. And I know people will say, oh, the players, screw the players, whatnot. Do you know, Greg Bulger, 36 years of age, doing double sessions. The same as a 19-year-old. He's out now for 8 weeks. Is there a relationship between the two? I don't know.
Played against Celtic.
Jerry, are you getting Nash out as soon as possible, or does this only come to an end once the ownership goes?
I said it then. I got rid of him a couple of weeks ago. And I maintain that. Like, to be honest, Friday night after the game, we logged off from that 955 Live. I was thinking, when I wake up here Saturday morning, there's going to be a statement out that he's gone. But look, it didn't anyway. So it does seem to be like that we're going to persevere with him, which I think is a mistake in my opinion. And
that's just further doubling down of you're all wrong type of attitude.
that's my worry. That's why, like, I worry that, in my opinion, the right thing for the club now is to change ownership and change all the key structures at the club, especially from a footballing side of things. And it just, I think it just won't happen in the short term, just due to sheer stubbornness and if unable to admit one is wrong or made mistakes. And look, just on the game, I don't want to repeat too much on what Wayne and Decky said, but like, I hark back again to like the same Pats game. We did the same thing again. We were in a good position in that game too. And for some odd, weird, bizarre reason, and I put that down to, at the end of that game, that we were just tired and people didn't want to track back or whatever. But like, it has to be some coaching issue. Why in the name of God are we just unable to manage the game and see it out? And as Deck said, keep it tight. Like, why can't we just have this ability to turn into this dross, stubborn, hard to get past team, like so many bad teams in the league have done to us down the last decade plus, like that they come to Turner's Cross and we can't score against them and it takes us an hour to unlock them or whatever, even some of our better teams. Why can't we just turn into that team? Even the worst teams that have been relegated out of the League of Ireland in the last 5-6 years, they realise and they have a way that they can switch on and become hard to beat for periods of the game. And all we had to do was do that for like 30 minutes. Not, or as Deck said, even the first 10 or 15 and frustrate Sligo. They had a very poor first half, Sligo, by their standards, because they've been in unbelievable form lately and they've picked up great results against Derry, Galway, good result against Shamrock Rovers and Bows. In hindsight, they probably think they should have taken 3 points in those games as well. And, you know, they've got, who have they got at home this week? Is it, or who are they playing? Is it Shells? They'll fancy Shells, who are in the middle of their Champions League games and whatever. But like, we had them, and it was mainly down to them. It was all set up for us to take full advantage of Sligo having their worst night in probably about a month. And we went 2-0 up and we couldn't have the wherewithal and the tactical nous and the experience of what to do in that situation. And when the fans in the ground and Declan on this podcast know what should be done in a 2-0 up situation when you're the bottom team in the league and you're trying to bring it to 5 points and just get the hell out of there with the 3 points, and we just don't have that mentality for some reason. And it goes back to the thing last week where, you know, the 11-year-old behaviour. I want to score the penalty against Leicester Celtic. It's almost like like we used to play in the alley at home there when you get the old €2 ball from the pound shop. Everyone wants to score at the end. They all run up and they all think like, this is great, we're all going to score. That's almost, I can't think of any other logical reason why this happens. And then what's worrying as well, and as we said, we've gotten progressively worse throughout this window and progressively worse since Nash has come in. We haven't learned a tap since that St. Pat's game when we were in a good position and we left with egg on our faces. And this is even worse again because we've gone from potentially being 5 points in it to now 11. And that's just unforgivable. And it's all down to the management, the experience, not having the cool head on what to do in those situations. And for that reason, drastic change needed.
Okay, well, we're going to hear now what the fans... Go on, Wayne.
Just one last thing. Jamie knows Graham Gartland, who commentates LOA TV for, or side commentates for Shamrock Rovers. He's probably seen Cork City a couple of times this year, and he could pinpoint, he nailed every single line he spoke on the commentary about the corners, about the men on the lines. He did the same thing 2 weeks ago when he played Waterford. He knew exactly what was going on. And this is for a fella who's probably seen 2 or 3 times Cork City, and our managers and coaches can't see it. There's something wrong there.
It's time to hear now from the toe tappers. Chris Smithers says, when Nolan hit the crossbar, I remarked, I didn't think this game could kick me in the balls anymore. And then that happens. Little did I know another one was coming 30 seconds later. Billy Dorney says, unacceptable, disappointing, mismanaged, embarrassing, painful, putrid, toxic, a big massive fuck you to the loyal fan base. Time for Pinocchio to stop telling lies. False narrative. Richie says, who will Usher and his minions blame this week? The fans, the podcast. George Suhig says, the club is dead, plain and simple, for how bad things have been and how poorly fans have been treated. It's no wonder people have stopped supporting. CCFC man says Nash couldn't manage a sandwich. Scott Buckley says, played well at times tonight, passion at times, not going to come back from this now. Absolutely shocking. Relegation is happening. Terrible season. Sean O'Mahony says it's about time the national media, he tags Dan MacDonald and co, start reporting on the lies that have been told to City fans over the last 3 years. Week after week, we've been lied to and disrespected, and this is the result. There's only one person at fault here. Richie says, this is why you sign LOI players in the summer, not unfit players from abroad. Fucking waste of time. Please, Roy, buy the club. Magpie says, the party is over, I'm going home. Rob says, genuine question, don't think he's a City fan. How many of last season's promotion-winning side were shown the door? I know a few of them joined Cove Ramblers, who were having a decent season. Cork City had a good side last season. Not sure how many of the team are still there this season. Not too many. There's not too many left in general. Topper says, imagine working all your life to accrue a very nice wedge of cash and then spending 2 million of it on this. Should have went for the yacht. The Donny Ford Ultra Mega Sergeant Platoon says, that's all on the management tonight. Nash is useless and Usher can fuck right off. I was absolutely embarrassed walking home in case someone saw my City shirt. Fuck this. For the club.
That's one of the worst ones.
That's a killer one, that is.
It is actually, yeah. Embarrassed in case someone saw me wearing the jersey. Like, that's true. Like, we all get it, lads, don't we?
We do,
Every
yeah.
Saturday morning, like, my father-in-law's a fucker for it. Like, he's been to Turner's Cross 3 times in his life, and he just texts me every Saturday morning going, same old shite again last night, was it? And I'm just like, I look at herself and go, will you ever tell him leave me alone? Like,
but that's it. That's the water cooler on a Monday morning. Like, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. And it's like,
thank God for work from home.
Like, we gave out
they
about
took water
Tim
coolers out
Clancy.
of our place a few years ago. Actually, it was
like
health
we
and safety,
give out about
apparently.
Tim Clancy.
Too many City fans out there.
Tim Clancy was going to averaging 0.8 points per game. It's not good, but
Nash is 0.65
0.3. 0.3.
No.
And like goals per game, under Clancy we were averaging 1.13 goals per game. Under Jar it's 0.78, and that's including getting 2 against Sligo the other night. Goals against under Tim we were conceding 1.67, which is really poor. We're conceding 2 goals a game under Jar Nash. Like, every metric has gone backwards. Like, nothing has improved. Fucking bounce. And like, you get
Except
this
our
thing where
listenership.
the first thing, and he did it as well. Every manager comes in and the first words out of their mouth is, players aren't fit enough. That buys them a month, because everything is, players aren't fit enough. When we get them fit now, we'll be much better. We're now 9 games in. That whole
Irish.
players aren't fit thing is out the fucking window. Long ago. We're running double sessions and we're doing this and we're doing the other thing, and the players are complaining they're bollocksed and all this stuff is going on. Like, it's just a shit show. This is from top to bottom, and this isn't just Jar Nations. The whole place, the whole club from top to bottom is a shit show. And like, grand, he's on the podcast. The podcaster's saying this, that, and the other thing. We're 11 points fucking adrift at the bottom of the men's Premier Division.
In July.
The women are second bottom of their league. You don't need me to tell you that the whole club's a shit show. All the evidence is there in front of you. Do you know? Actually, what is it? The last time I did this, it was 4 wins in what? But hang on now. The women have.
It was a 37
the women have 2 in 13, and we have 2 in. How many games have we played?
25.
We have 2 in 25. So that's 4 wins in 38 games for the senior teams this year. It's not TOTAP's fault. It's not the fans' fault. It's not the media's fault. It's not whoever else's fault that people want to blame.
It's all our fault. We're in a privileged position. We're causing the stir in the fan base. We're causing the unrest. We're causing the players to go crying into their dressing rooms and to go crying to the fans in the RSC.
I was just going to say, the players aren't even to blame. The blame lies in Bishopstown. It lies in the ownership group's office, and it lies in the managers and assistant managers' offices. That's where it lies, in my world anyway. Nowhere else. And with all due respect to all of them, it's time to move on.
And that concludes the first half, TOTAPper. Come back to us in the second half. We're not going to have Mbeng's bag. And we also have the Galway preview.
Okay, listen up, toe tapper. Do you love us? Do you sit back and wait every week for the pod to drop? Do you close your eyes and listen to our dulcet tones? If you have answered yes to any of these, we need you to show us the love financially. There are costs involved in creating this multi-award-winning podcast. And if you aren't already a Patreon, then it's time to stop being a freeloader. For as little as $5 a month, you will get weekly exclusive pods. There's access to data, a member section of our website, special early bits of the normal pod, and you can have direct one-to-one access to us with new benefits also on the way. So head to patreon.com/TOTAP and sign up now.
And welcome back to part 2, TOTAPper.
Postman Pat, Postman Pat, Postman Pat, and in black and white cat.
The cat makes race.
Early in the morning, a one bag of man is yawning. Him pick up all of the post bag in a him man.
A real bad man.
That was enough of that, to be fair. We're going to go to our Patreon questions, and it's definitely the most amount of Patreon questions we have had so far. Evan Cashman asks, lads, we've been saying Liam Kearney should be director of football for at least a year, but with the absolute state of this club, is there a fear he'll leave for DOF or academy role in the Pale or elsewhere? Who'll take that up? Decky?
I don't think there is, to be honest with you. Not for an academy role in the Pale anyway. Depends on what Liam's own ambitions are. And I don't know, and I'm not going to speak to Liam's career ambitions. He's been brilliant in the academy, absolutely brilliant. Somebody put up his press conference before the St. Pat's game the other day, and I listened to it again, and it's probably the only time we've had a press conference this year where you really think, yeah, this chap understands Cork City. This chap knows what it means to play for Cork City. He was talking about instilling confidence in the players. He was talking about, we need to cut out these stupid mistakes, and he listed them out. We need to block balls coming. We need to stop balls coming into the box, etc., etc. And you thought, yeah, this guy gets it. Like, this guy knows it. Like, so, look, I don't know.
He was
Again,
probably
it would
too
just be
open
heartbreaking if he did, like, but,
he's probably too open and transparent for the club to give him that role. No, anyway, they're like, what? Oh, geez, we need to wind this fella back in. But I don't think Liam deserves to go through the pain of taking up that position under the current ownership structure. I'd really feel for him if he took that role and ended up being, potentially micromanaged and all the rest of it that comes with it. So
just always remember, lads, like his piece in the press conference about the next city manager, he described the complete opposite of Ger Nash, and we said it before, and we've said it 3 or 4 times. Liam knew what was needed, and what we got was the complete opposite of what Liam Kearney would have told people was needed. So
yeah. That's what set me off about him. Nash was confirmed on the Monday. Liam did that interview on the Wednesday. He knew who the manager was. And now hindsight has even proven him to be even more 1,000% correct. He described everything but Ger Nash. And we speculated that even before Nash's first game. We were like, he didn't describe Ger Nash there.
Yeah.
Like, we knew Ger Nash's background and his CV. And we were like, okay. Let's give everyone the benefit of the doubt, though, as we always did. In fairness to Nash as well, people backed him. And remember when that talk about he went into the dressing room at halftime, even though he wasn't managing that game, and there was talks he threw a few F-bombs in and whatever, and the team came out a different beast. And he was saying all the right thing, and everyone was getting behind him. Everyone was, I hope the club don't ever say like that the fan base turns on everyone here quickly, or they don't give people a chance. They give everyone more than enough time, too much time, to be honest.
Philly asks, now that the season is done, is there any of the current squad that have the potential to be of any use when/if we get back to the Premier Division in 2 years' time? Kerry?
Look, depends on the injury situation, Dan, I suppose, and things like that. But yeah, definitely Rory like Shawnee, I suppose, in an ideal world, you'd keep on to him in the first division, but I don't know. There might be a chance he moves, or there'll definitely be clubs looking to take him potentially because of his history and his track record. Not this season, I would say, but look, there's a lot playing into that too, like injuries and trying to get him back to full fitness has been a struggle, it looks like, for the last couple of weeks. Look, I'll just say as well, for a lot of the players, I was talking to a guy the other day. Football might not be the career for you if it's money and fame you're looking for. Like, if you start off your electrical, plumbing or mechanics apprenticeship at this stage, just think about it. In 4 years' time, you'll be on Savage Bob's, probably much more than you'll be earning at Cork City and the Ireland teams and journeyman and around to different clubs. So, you know what, lads, for a laddie, the jig is up and it might be an option to go look somewhere else.
Richie says, sunshine or lollipops, which do you prefer, Wayne?
Sunshine. Big fan of sunshine.
Sean O'Sullivan says, where the fuck do we go from here? As in, how can we possibly stop this shit from happening again? If players don't want to play, then fine. Fuck them out. 2 relegations in Usher's time is not on. Still depressed from Friday. Look, I think we've probably dealt with that one. Cian O'Callaghan might be a weird one, but on the space that was held the other night, won't name any names in brackets, but saw club employees, former players in brackets, most notably from the last 2 seasons, and players' partners in the space. Do you think that more eyes from inside the club are drawn onto the pod more than ever? And do you see this as a negative or positive thing? Love the pod. X, keep it up.
I was just going to give some numbers for anyone who didn't know, and this isn't us patting us on the back because it really is genuinely unbelievable. There was something like 1,790 odd individual people at different times of that 2.5 hours logged in to listen to some or all of the 955 Live. We consistently had somewhere between 200 and 300 people consistently on it, which was just unbelievable. But like, yeah, I think, you know what? TOTAP has grown. Lads, you've put amazing work into this the last 4 years, long before I came. And it's obviously a very popular outlet for City fans. And that's why I was a fan long before I ever came onto the pod. And it's, there you go.
Dan,
you're the best thing
we make dreams
Dan.
come true, Declan.
Yeah.
Jackie.
Dan, can I just on this, right? Misery attracts people. It's Ireland. Like we love to listen to people misery. Who are fucked. And this is a football club that's fucked. Players' partners were on there. They have every right to be on there.
Oh, yeah.
Listen to what they're saying. They're invested emotionally. Club employees, of course, they've every right to be in there. And I'd say this much to them: fair play to them. They weren't hiding behind burner accounts, which is something they could easily have done. They know they're going to be spotted, no issue with it. Journalists are on there, some using burners, some using their own accounts. It blew the OTB one just completely out of the water, but they're there, Dan, because there's misery. And misery attracts, and our listening numbers on this podcast over the last 5 or 6 weeks have gone up 20 or 30%. Because it's fans from other clubs tuning in to hear all the misery in Cork and hear all the shit that's happening in Cork. Next season, as a first division pod again, those numbers are going to drop dramatically. They're going to tank. They will. We know that. Because the Dubs have stopped it. Who gives a shit about a first division club? And that's why it's so hard to even think about doing it again next year, to be honest with you. I'm talking personally here now, but it's very, very difficult to see, because the numbers drop off, it's irrelevant. The club is largely irrelevant next season in the whole League of Ireland scheme. Nobody gives a shit. Nobody in fucking Wexford gives a shit that there's 300 City fans heading for Ferry Carrick Park. Nobody in Athlone cares. The only interesting game is Cove and Treaty. It's just like
Kerry.
No, yeah, Kerry. But again, it's undoable. To me, it's undoable anyway. But we'll see what happens.
Dylan says, should Dermot Usher address the fans publicly on the Rappers Pod, for example? ?
It's too late.
We deserve an honest explanation
Jog on.
as to why we're at rock bottom.
Too
I
late.
would say I'd only accept that then if it was to come on to make a public declaration that he's open to listening to potential new custodians.
Billy Dorney says, I had the exact same question as Dylan, but I'd add we need transparency and not this constant in the dark shite that Dermot and company within the football club are at, referring to the fan base. High time Dermot addressed the fans in an open forum Q&A, not dribble or
Waste of
PR
time.
speeches.
Waste of time, that stuff. No offense, Billy. I know, and I know Billy probably would have loved to have been in that fans meeting as well. He would have been a great character to have in that room, I think, as well. Not sure if she was invited or whatever, but I don't. Q&A and I know Forrest hold those Q&As as well with the owner and the manager and stuff. I think we're all done with that stuff now.
Decky.
Dan, the thing about doing it on the Rappers podcast, and this was with Aina as well, you have club employees asking other club employees questions. That's not in any way to denigrate the podcast, but that's what it is. So he can't do that. Nobody's going to take that. He can't do a Q&A with random fans, because if I go in there, is he going to accept the question from me? I don't know. Maybe he would, maybe he wouldn't. But that's just going to end up with people shouting at him and, telling him he hasn't a fucking clue and everything else. So that's probably off the thing, right? So maybe between the stripes, because they won't ask the tough questions, they just read out a pre-prepared statement. So
worse than going on the Rapper pod.
So I think the only outlet that has the credibility to do it would be Dan McDonald and League of Ireland Central.
What? I thought you were going to say us.
Lads, he's not touching us. Jesus Christ Almighty! It's like, look, of course, yes, this would be the place to, but that's just there's no point in even pretending that's a possibility. So
we're in such a privileged position, Dick. We're what better place to go on? And if it was me, and God knows I've done it plenty times during dodgy times for the club. Anytime he asked me to come on, now obviously it's never going to happen in this day and age, but you know what? Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, but then Dan as well he is a true pro, isn't he? Is he really going to, and is he possibly fair enough away with it that his own podcast would become too niche if he drills into the little stuff?
We had to cut the second podcast and put hotel music over it. All right. The second time it came on, we had to stop the pod because it got a little bit heated. Do you remember, Decky?
Yeah, I do.
So
I do.
I'll have to write a letter to Santa to try and get that podcast on my Christmas wish list this year. But look, we'll maybe someday.
Well, no, just the point is that there's I would only kind of trust Dan McDonald and Johnny with it. And even as you say, Dick, Dan's not going to go cutthroat. They're not going to go the same way we would go because, as you said, they're professionals, and
and it's a bit too niche. I think it gets too niche for going into this.
Who is Dan McDonald?
Dan McDonald.
You always say McDonald.
E-I-E-I-O. And on his pod.
Last week we said 3 times McDonald, I think.
McDonald.
He permanently saying it. Look, we're moving on. Hey. Smidge asks, question in relation to previous and potential future manager. Personal reasons aside, but how can anyone blame Caulfield for a financial predicament a few years back? Surely that blame rests with the board who allowed him overspend. A strong board would have drawn the line. Every manager will ask for more and more funds, but it's the board who need to budget accordingly and say no despite any threats, etc. Caulfield was successful despite the dire style of football at times, but I wouldn't be too despondent seeing him back with Usher controlling the purse. It couldn't get any worse.
It could. Dermot being the owner and him back as manager would be worse. And I've said this many times, and people are just going to write this off as, he has an axe to grind and all this kind of stuff. And I get what Brian is saying there, and he makes a very valid point. It's up to the bosses and the owners of the company and whatever. at the end of it, look, I can't say anymore because, look, I'll possibly legally implicate myself, to be honest. So, I'm sorry, lads, I have to just check out here. But I wouldn't have John Caulfield back, in my opinion, if it was up to me as an employee of Cork City FC ever again.
Jackie.
Look, Dan, it's chalk and cheese. Dermot doesn't really want to spend money, or I think his phrase is, I want to spend the least amount of money possible. John Caulfield wants his club to spend money on players, decent wages, etc., etc. The two just don't mix. I just don't see how the two personalities and the two methodologies could ever. It's like oil and water. Like, as far as I could see, I just
and things
couldn't
don't
see
seem
it.
to be going. Things aren't too hot in Galway at the moment with that type of situation where, you know, the manager knows that the owners have an endless pot of money, and like they're like Sligo are going to catch them. That's my prediction for the rest of the season. Like they're going to be in the playoff match.
Good shout, I'd say. We'll move on to the Twitter questions. Billy Dorney says, excuse me for late question, lads, was just in dumps over City and forgot. But then he says, how the fuck are you going to motivate yourselves for next season doing a pod on a crappy season, crappy division, woeful but friendly venues, knowing full well that we may gain promotion, but will positively be back down again ASAP. I'd rather eat me arse than attend Division 1. Jake says, what do we do now?
Can
Like,
I answer that one?
Go on.
Yeah.
I love the
concerned.
misery. I love the misery.
I think people are, just from my own perspective, this is my first season, I think people are genuinely concerned that the podcast won't be here next year. I've had one or two people ask me. Now, I know that's only one or two people, but they say, like, you're hardly going to do it in the first division
It
again.
won't be an hour and 40 minutes long. It'll be a 40-minute podcast probably kind of thing. And maybe... So you have to change it up. Has to be something different. We're different from the first series. We'll be different in season.
It could be a spectacular season of special guests, maybe, and stuff.
Yeah,
former employees of the club
different
from 2025.
Yeah. And Dan, you're a hot shot anyway. You're on 6.8 million likes. Like, people are coming for you.
Oh, what fuck there? Jake says,
maybe there'll be a bit of excitement next year. We'll have new owners, we'll have new managers. There'll be a bit of excitement around the club, a rebrand. That's the only hope I see for 2026, to be honest, to get a bit of public support and buy-in again. But that's just me, and my opinion. My opinion.
Jake says, what do we do now?
My opinion.
Like, not even joking. I know I won't step foot in the cross this season again, but will they break even 1k at the Galway game? Why should anyone show up? It's very worrying. Also, tell Kerry I'm waiting for my ORC, sorry.
Yeah, the ORC t-shirts are in the pipe. The merchandise, the TOTAP merchandise drop is coming soon.
Are we going to break 1k at the Galway game, Kerry? Answer that one.
Butts in seats, I don't think we will, unless Galway bring a sizable crowd, which do they historically? Have they, when they came earlier?
No, not really, but 200, I'd say.
So then again, we probably will break the 1,000 then. We'll have roughly probably the same as the Leicester Celtic game, plus maybe Galway's travelling sport, so there might be 1,200 butts in seats, announced as 1,700 is my prediction. Oh God, I could see the hair being torn out now as this pod has been listening to on Wednesday.
Joe Langford, I'm only selecting a few here because there's so many questions today. Given what any person of any degree of football knowledge already knew, was the signing of an injury-prone Seanie Maguire, who was never going to be the 2017 version, of one of the most reckless and short-sighted signings this club has ever made.
No. We covered this.
I'll answer it again, because if he had signed for Shamrock or Galway or Bows, we would have lost our shit. So he had to sign him.
Yeah.
The Dogger,
money is no object, so there you go. It's not a big deal.
The Dogger asks, what is the difference between City and Rovers? In my opinion, they got players on loan from LOI teams that know the league and are somewhat fit at this time in the season, whereas we got loans that aren't even in pre-season yet.
Yeah.
Jackie.
James McManus. Like, look at the players they brought in. Like, they're like, Dogger's right. Like, he's hitting it in the head. They brought players in who were ready and willing to go, who were set up to go. James McManus is a very, very good footballer. He lorded it second half in Turner's Cross on Friday night. Absolutely lorded it. We I was like, we brought in Rory Feely and Fiacre, started out brilliantly, and then we did nothing for 3.5 weeks.
Yeah.
We announced a kid, 19-year-old on loan from Preston, about a 16-year-old from Shamrock Rovers.
Yeah. Like
And when we needed to win the game the other night, when we needed something to happen, we brought on a 16-year-old. I said, there you go. You go out and please do something magical to save us.
And
So what kind of a strategy is that like?
And just to go back to the game, I meant to say this earlier, like that free header from McLean, like the world and their mother know he's a good header of the ball.
Yeah,
and
that's
he's
where the
strong
ball's
in the air.
going.
Is there a little bit of me thinking the players are so lack of confidence now, and it's so gone that they're almost afraid to mark him? Like, it just, it's one of those situations where no one goes to him or whatever. Like, I get the whole zonal thing, but like, come on, he's the strongest header of the ball they have from set
But it's not
pieces on
zonal.
the team.
It wasn't. It's hybrid. It's not zonal.
Yeah, it's hybrid because there was nobody in the zone either. Like, it was just a clusterfuck.
Like how
it's just a
not?
clusterfuck.
Like we knew. Like anyway, it doesn't need to be said. Like,
when they signed him, I said, hang on now, he's a dog. He'll make your tackles. He'll win headers and clear the box, and he'll get you a few from set pieces. That's the exact 3 things we did. He scored against Derry and he scored against us. Like,
just mental.
Like,
we're not footballing geniuses. Like, you definitely are ahead of the rest of us tactically and all that.
No, but it's just.
But we all know. Come on, like, I know.
Yeah, it's just come on, like.
That's what I said earlier. Graham Gartland saw it, called it out on TV, and it's probably his second game he's seen Cork City play this year, and he called out every single issue we had.
And I wouldn't mind. And again, that's like him. If there was someone on his shoulder and made it hard for him, and had to make that one of the best headers scored all season, but it was actually a beautifully placed header from McLean because he had no one on him, and we were afraid of him.
And because there's no one standing in the back post. If there's someone standing in the back post, they take one step to the side and head it away.
Yeah.
But we don't put people in the like. It's just, I don't know. Anyway.
We have a habit of making average players look class as well.
Fuck me.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Ian Draper asks, does anyone know what the lowest points tally in the Premier Division is? Must look to surpass it.
It was 2 points for a win years ago. So.
Yeah. Jerry will have that worked out though, and he'll do the old inflation conversion and all.
James Sheridan asks, in the likely event of relegation, how do you see the short and long-term future of the club unfolding, both competitively and structurally? Win
long term, change the mentality of the club, change the structure, change how we run the club, change the plan, the project, change everything. It's take time. I think we're a decade behind even challenging for Europe. I would say not challenging, but I think we're a decade behind being European contenders.
In the current structure, Wayne, we are. But if there was change, and you saw how quickly Shells turned it around there when they won the first division. It is possible. And they're one of many Dublin teams that really came from nowhere to,
Yeah.
Now they hit gold with Duff in that first couple of seasons.
The problem is we don't know how much damage next year can do, especially under the current ownership we have. It could do untold damage where we even go, fuck this. It can. Like, there's plenty of people out there who are just on the borderline of going, I'm not arsed anymore. Getting too old for this. Have kids. Want to pay for holidays. Like spending 300 and something quid. How much is the season ticket this year? 200 and... What was it?
I don't know.
It was three. I think it broke it.
So many prices anyway. There's early bird, there's double early bird.
Christmas, like, who's going to pay that? No, I think next year is I keep saying every year, it's make or break. Yeah.
Could you imagine the off-season this year if we get relegated? Every announcement, the early bird of the early bird, the new jersey, the this and that.
No one cares anymore. Keep the same jersey, there's no point.
It's just, they'll never do that anyway. Where's that? We were supposed to get a new jersey again, weren't we? Were we told that as well?
They were right not to release it though. It would have been fucking war if they released it.
What are they going to do? Is there a bunch of jerseys sitting in...
next year's one.
Afghanistan or Pakistan or somewhere like
Afghanistan.
I know, I couldn't think of it. Is there boxes of jerseys? Yeah,
there is, I'd say, but it'll be used next season. It'll be our away jersey next season.
The away jersey or something, yeah. Potentially, allegedly, our opinion, yeah.
Or some
All right.
capital of fucking culture cup again or something stupid. Fuck's sake.
James Sheridan also asks, how would you evaluate the current structure and alignment of both the men's and women's first teams? Is there a cohesive vision, or are they operating in silos, Decky?
Silos. Absolutely operating in silos. There's no cohesive vision because there's no director of football. There's nobody to pin any kind of cohesive vision across the club. So no, they're absolutely operating in silos, and one is operating as poorly and as badly as the other. So look, as I keep saying, all the evidence is there. Just look at the 2 league tables. That's all the evidence you need.
Moving on to Galway at home this coming Friday.
You nearly forget that, wouldn't you? You nearly forget we have a game. Like, you'd love if we just boycott, not that's the word I'm looking for, no, abandon the game just for 1 week, just so we could have a break. It'd be nice, wouldn't it? Fuck me.
Look, is anyone expecting a win?
I do actually. I think we'll win.
Do you?
No. Wait,
It's
what?
funny.
It's
funny. It's genuinely funny, but
potato packets, is it in a pitch or something? How are we going to?
No. But it's
lucky box or something.
Galway are desperate. Remember the first night of the season we played Galway, and we sat here the second pod of the season said Galway are in big trouble. They're an awful side, and now it took a while, but that thought process and those predictions are coming true now, right? They're a poor side. Now we're awful as well, but it's, irony. Irony lurks around the corner and just waits, And now that we're 11 points behind and we threw away a 2-goal lead, we'll probably do Galway.
And Sligo will beat
As Deck says, Sligo will beat Shelburne and go above Galway, and it'll be ourselves in Galway. Like, we're never catching them. We can't get near them. But I do think they're in atrocious form. The goals they're giving away are unbelievable. From a John Caulfield side, which was always built on defensive strength and defensive solidity. The Moses Dyer thing seems to have absolutely ruptured them. And there's something in the back of my head just saying, we'd probably beat them 3-1 or something like that.
Delusional, boy.
I know it's delusional. I know it's delusional.
Mushrooms and bling again. It's
I'm going for that as well. I think 1-0 Cork City.
Fuck's sake.
Just because they're probably the second worst team in the league after us.
No, the only thing about it is, it should always be pointed out, Waterford conceded, was it 6 or 7 they conceded in Derry that time, and they wanted to play us next. Galway are on this desperate run of form, and they're going to be coming down the bus going.
Pats were the same that time too, weren't they? At the cross,
at least we get to play Cork City now anyway,
Yeah. How many teams? Pats, Waterford, they were in poor runs coming up bad results, and then they're like, what better team to play next than Cork City and get back on track?
Man, you're head in your hands there.
I just don't understand this bullshit from the two lads, to be honest with you. Like, there's nothing we can see that even.
It's purely me, Wayne, just because Galway are so shit as well, and I think we're at home, and I think it's typical Cork City. Oh, we won again, and the hard luck story. It's such a shame. Sligo beat Shells at home. We can't catch a break, Unlucky us.
We've more of a chance of catching Galway than Sligo.
Which is
100%. We're not catching anybody. Forget it. We're not catching anybody. We're not.
They have to lose 4 at this stage. They have to lose 4. We have to win 4, and then we have to equal or better all their results for the rest of the season. It can happen, lads. We just need the fans to roll in behind us and get united.
We just need a bit of positivity around the place. Is all we're lacking all along.
Dan, can I just say something here? And it's completely irrelevant, but it just popped into my head because I meant to say it an hour ago.
Once.
Wednesday night, Athlone Women's Champions League game against Cardiff City is live on LOI TV free of charge. So if anybody wants to watch a Women's Champions League game, Athlone Cardiff City is on 7:30 Wednesday night, Wednesday the 30th, free on LOI TV.
Would they get a big crowd, Decky?
They've over 1,000 tickets sold anyway so far. I was reading yesterday.
Impressive.
I'm going up. Well, I think I'm going up.
Speaking of selling tickets too, I put out a little survey style tweet there the other day. Did anyone actually buy the 6-game pass? Which is now, obviously that offer has expired because
I forgot to buy one.
If you miss one game, it becomes devalued versus the regular price. So
it's fairly devalued anyway.
Why we didn't just go with dropping the price from 25 down to 20 for the remaining 6 games? I don't know. No, obviously, are we going to do a different offer now for the remaining 5 games? We're probably not,
because you've already got people to do. If
anyone
one
is out
person, if one person has bought that offer, then you can't underscribe that by doing something else.
Well, you're assuming someone's actually has bought it.
This is it. I'll take on the personal expense. If someone did buy it and you can prove that you bought one of those 6 game passes, drop an email orc@totap.ie and I'll sort you out with a TOTAP.
You don't have orc@totap.ie, do you?
I did the IT guy at TOTAP Tower set it up for me.
Stop the light. None of us have a personal email address.
Jesus
You're telling me the orc.
In fact, you all do. You actually all do, believe it or not.
We could never get into them. We could never get passwords. It was a shit show at the time.
Is it ORC or DORC?
Come on. It's not Declan, original Rebel Chief, Wayne. It's just original Rebel Chief. But anyway, yeah. No. orc@totap.ie. Send in the evidence that you got
this is unbelievable. Like, just as I thought it couldn't get any bigger, but it's a swamp. Anyway.
Just wait for the t-shirts.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
God. Oh
God.
Dork. Yeah, that's
come on, lads. Don't be so immature. Come on.
Okay, back to current programming. So Dan,
what do you think? I mean, there's only one left. What do you think the attendance is going to be? Wayne?
I think bums and seats will be 982. I think officially it'll be 1,536, give or take 2.
I think we'll get in around 1,200 bums on seats. People go for the look, like Kerry.
Yeah, the only attraction about the game really is the possibility of a protest, maybe, and some people that are like,
that's mad, isn't it?
Or whatever.
That's where we are, like.
Yeah, that might attract people to the game. Yeah, I don't know. That to me is the only jeopardy that's there for the game. Will there or will there not be a bit of furore? And people might go for a look or a nose, a bit of soap opera drama. Like,
there wasn't much furore after the Sligo game. Like, I feel like if it was going to happen, people just give up. Like,
yeah, I think people have checked out. That's a big thing for me. I think people have checked.
I think it's a different time than 2009, 2010. Yeah. I just don't. I think the culture's changed. We're in the Gen Z now, or whatever you're called then, and
those lads have never seen a successful team like we did growing up. So it's like,
yeah, but back in the day as well, Scott, there was no social media. You couldn't complain on Twitter. You had to go right. Tom Collin, dead man walking on the wall at Turner's Cross, because there was no other way he was going to find out. Like, whereas now you can send a tweet, you can ask a question on the podcast.
All these different things. So all these different things there, because some fella puts up a tweet saying there's going to be protests, then a guy replies and says, no, I think we should do this, and I think we should do this, and then some fella puts up a TikTok video about it. And whereas back in the good old days, it was SMS text messages, and someone said, geez, I heard there, Richie told me there's someone organising something outside the Cross on Friday night, and that's all you knew.
And you just went,
different times. Like, no, it's like, there's so much stuff being thrown out there now, nothing will happen. Is what it is.
I think, does that conclude our 2-hour special? Nearly.
I think we're going to lose 3-1. Just to...
Yeah, thanks for being a realist. I'd say it might get a draw out of it. Might be like a 1-1 draw.
Yeah.
But I will say, whatever happens, for people, if they're protesting, just don't be getting physical. Don't be getting in people's faces. Just, They
won't have the opportunity to do that anyway, Wayne, regardless. But yeah,
I know, but you got to make sure people aren't stupid, like, because people get riled up.
Yeah.
We saw on Friday night that people were very, very calm. You feel very proud of the City fan base. They're so calm and just,
Yeah, there's a solution to this, Wayne. And look, it doesn't have to go as far as it possibly could. And that's not me saying that there will be threats of physical violence or any of that stuff. And I hope we don't ever lower ourselves to any of that kind of stuff. Because, look, at the end of the day, lads, Dermot Usher is not Tom Collin. We don't have the revenue knocking on our door. We don't have, like, the FAI potentially looking to ban him from all footballing activity. He doesn't deserve some of the stuff that Tommy Nobob's got. But at the end of the day, as I said earlier in the pod, there's a solution to this. And I just hope now that the club kind of, the hierarchy pushes on and looks for a change. And I think that's the right thing to do for Cork City FC and help find its next custodian.
I think that was a good note to end it on. Lads, it's been a pleasure. Adios. I think there's only left to say, unless someone wants to add something.
Cero miedo, amigos.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Adios.